Good morning, podcast community. Well, we're one for two. This is our second Woman in Business podcast. First one, we got our signals crossed, so she's going to be on next week. But we have one that you don't want to mess with her because she has put a guy that we were talking to yesterday on the mat twice. I won't mention his name because we don't want to embarrass him on the podcast. So, but if you go to KBA, you'll see them and you can ask them. Okay, so why are we here? We're going to feature women in business that are crushing it. And Joanie is going to give us 3 of her inside secrets. And she's going to do it on a regular basis as much as we can get her back. So I want you to speak to our ladies that think, I don't know if I can open up a business. So introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we'll get into our podcast.
Sounds good. So my name is Joanie Chambrland, and I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a form of self-defense to kids ages 4 and up, adults all the way up. I think my oldest student was in his 60s now. So teaching them self-defense and how to become better versions of themselves and growing as like a human being in jiu-jitsu and helping others and whatever the goal is, it doesn't matter. We're here to help you reach that goal. Uh, and I think you asked how long I've been in business. I'm not sure, but almost 5 years now.
That's a long time. We're going to put up on the screen. We'll bring it back just so you, for our early risers that are grabbing us before they go to work and they're going, how do I get a hold of her? Okay, this is how you get a hold of her. Okay, so but we're going to get into the podcast, and we really want to. I want to ask you a couple questions as it relates to confidence. I mean, so much of business is confidence. How has your training helped you in your business with your level of confidence that has kept you doing a great job in your business?
I think, I've done a lot in jiu-jitsu. I started pretty young. I started teaching when I was 19, and I was only a purple belt and a tiny female, which is in a male-dominated sport, uh, kind of difficult because people will come in and ride you off. So I would say that through training and getting ready for competitions and rolling, I've pretty much rolled predominantly with men my entire life. There's a lot more jiu-jitsu women now, but not when I first started. And just rolling with them and learning and being able to start, executing moves on them. I wasn't always winning, but just be able to execute some moves and competing. And then when you compete, you do fight other women. And I had a horrible stage fright, but the more I competed, it's just really helped with the confidence and being able to see that the stuff that I'm learning is working. So just growing that confidence has really helped me out.
And for the people, our instant gratification crowd that want things overnight, how long did it kind of that journey from when you started as a little girl and you're gaining, the knowledge of the sport. I know you've been teaching since 19, but let's go back a few years so our viewers can get a better perspective. It doesn't happen overnight. How long have you been training per se to get to the level that you are right now?
Well, with jujitsu,
Just in general, because I think from what I understand, you really started focusing on that form because of a couple reasons. But let's go back to when you were just kind of getting into
little.
a sport and you're little, and maybe the guys are beating up on you because you're little, or the girls, the bigger girls. What was that like in that as you started that journey?
Well, I know it's like a big no-no for women, but I am 32. I just turned 32 this year, and I started training when I was 4.
Hmm.
So I've been training for a very long time. And when I was 4, I was really young. They didn't take kids till they were 6, so I had to take classes and make sure, like, they had a test and make sure I was good and ready to go. But my brother did it, so I wanted to join him.
Hmm.
So I started when I was 4, it really took. I mean, I've always been the kind of person that's not super fearful of doing stuff, but the
Mhm.
actually starting to win was probably when I was a brown belt
Mhm.
um in jiu-jitsu. So, 22ish, I think I got my brown belt. 20.
Wow. So from 4 to 22, if my math is right, that's 18 years.
Yeah.
That's a long journey to be sticking with one thing. I mean, I know that you've gotten into the specific part of the Brazilian, jiu-jitsu, but give our viewers an idea of like that journey. I mean, you had to be patient, disciplined, you had to work hard. I mean, you just don't click your fingers and all of a sudden you're at a brown belt. What was going through your mind as you're training and getting better for our viewers to understand?
Well, you're right. It doesn't just click overnight. Honestly, I really enjoyed learning more things in the martial arts to get better. Um, and I wouldn't say, I mean, I was able to beat people that weren't that good at a lower rank, but to actually be proficient and feel like the things I'm learning are really sticking and I'm able to apply it with people that are good, right? Because that is becomes the goal as you get higher up is like, yeah, I mean, you don't want to just be beating people that are not good at things, right?
Mhm.
So same thing with business, right? You want to be the top of the top, not the top of the bottom.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was it's a long journey. It's constant checks. Like some days you'll feel like, oh, I'm finally starting to get it, and then somebody will beat you down, and then then we try again, and then somebody will beat you down. So it's constantly just accruing skills. And yeah, it's frustrating, especially being small in my sport. Jiu-jitsu is for small people to defend themselves against big people that
Mhm.
don't know jiu-jitsu. But when you're all training together and then you're small on top of it and you don't know what you're doing, it does take a while to really start understanding.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of you know paying attention to what the goal was at the end of the day, right? So it was
Mhm.
constantly accumulating just a little bit of skills, a little bit more skills, and then like the small wins that you get, right? Like, oh, I finally was able to not get tapped 10 times, only 8 times. So it's like
Mhm.
in tapping in jujitsu means that somebody got you to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done, I'm done. You win. So it's kind of like the white flag. So, only having a white flag 8 times instead of 10, and then making your way down till one day you're like, oh, cool, I didn't have to do that at all. Uh, so yeah, it's a long journey. It's tough, and I can't tell you the amount of times I was like, yeah, I'm done, I'm quitting this, and
Mhm.
just kept going because it was like just a little bit more every time, a little bit more every time. So long journey trying to find, small gratification
Mhm.
to then really see the big picture to then find out like, oh, no, you don't have that. And then you keep accumulating.
What do you think, like, along the way, was there, like, any instructor or mentor that helped you through some rough spots where you're ready to go, "Hey, I'm gonna go back to playing with Barbies, enough of this stuff." I mean, was there anybody that came into your journey in life that kind of influenced you to keep going and talk you through some tough spots?
Well, I just want to say that I never play with Barbies, but
I
um,
had to throw it in there because my girls did, but they're
my
not black
mom kept
belts
them.
either.
My
Okay.
mom kept them for when company would come over.
Yeah.
I had like a box of Barbies that just stayed in the closet till like other people came over to play with them. I did
Yeah.
love stuffed animals though, as you can see, I still have one back there.
I
But
get
I I've had a few instructors. I don't really remember the one I had in Quebec like a lot because I was so young
mhm,
at this point, 28 years ago. But I do remember that the people I had there were those ones like at one point the school got bought out by somebody else before we moved to the United States, and all the people changed, and we weren't going to continue anyways because the coaches that we had that really stuck with me and were like, yeah, she's ready to go. I mean, just to be allowed to take something when I shouldn't have been,
Mhm.
right? Based on my merit was good. So I had them. And then when we moved here, I actually went to gymnastics and I hated it. The
Mhm.
leotards, the so I had to do my contract because my parents were very, you commit to something, you do it, which you don't know what 2 years is at that age, but I did it. And then I went back to Taekwondo. Um, and from there, I had a really good instructor, Ryan Delsing. And so I stayed because I was in middle schools. And so the time frames that I was at, I was a middle schooler taking with like little kids, like the 8 year olds, so I'm 13 training with like 8, 9 year olds because it was the only time slot that I could go to. So
Mhm.
he really made sure that I was still getting what I needed out of training. And then moving forward, my dad lost his job for a bit, so we couldn't train. And then I started the grappling program, and Professor Dan came in, and he really was the one he was like my dad. I mean,
Mhm.
they would pick me up because I was too young to, or I wasn't I started at 16, and my dad would take me, but then if he was working, they called me did you get the package? They would come and pick me up. The baby is here. Uh, so he made sure that the team would come pick me up if I wanted to be at the trainings. And then
Mhm.
eventually I was old enough, but I didn't have a car. So they would still pick me up, and I would babysit for him, all of that stuff. So he was basically like my dad. And when he moved away, that's when I was 19. He moved away to Guam to go continue being a pilot,
Mhm.
and that's when I was offered the teaching job over there.
Mhm.
And so he really was very influential for me. Really took care of me, made sure that everybody took care of me, and I think that's what I fostered in my gym is that taking care of the younger,
Mhm.
lower ranks and growing them. And then I'd say probably my best friend Thomas. Once I taught for a few years without having an instructor of my own,
Mhm.
and then when I went looking for one, um, Thomas over at Hunyetti's really like took me under his wing and started teaching me the stuff that I was kind of behind on because I didn't have an instructor. And he's the one every time I competed, I'm like, "Ah, I'm done, I'm quitting, I hate this." He's like, "But look how far you've come. Look at all these things you've done." And sometimes you need somebody to tell you that, remind you like, "Oh, you came from here. Like, look at all these things you've done." And that's kind of that instant gratification piece you're talking about. If you don't see that and you're just getting beat down, beat down, beat down, you need somebody else to say like, "Hey, like this what's happening right now isn't your whole journey. Like don't give up now. You're so close." So
Mhm.
I would definitely say that between, I've had really good instructors pretty much always. Did get lucky in that sense. But the really, really great ones would be Professor Dan, which is my first jujitsu instructor, and Thomas really has helped me a lot. And gosh, the times I've called Thomas and told him I'm quitting, I hate this. And he's just like, "What are you doing?" And then I told him when I opened my gym, like, "I'm gonna open a gym and you're gonna teach, help me teach." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, whenever you open a gym," because I guess a lot of people have told them they were gonna do that.
Mhm.
And I was like, "No, I'm going to," unlike these other people. And he actually does. He teaches for me on Mondays.
Hmm. What do you think? I mean, because it's gutsy to open a brick and mortar and to build a business and to really have to carry a bunch of different hats. What do you think prepared you for taking on a task like being in your own business at really a young age? Because a lot of people wait a lot longer. What do you think your training helped you to step out and take that leap of faith or that chance?
Well, I would say that jujitsu and martial arts, but definitely jujitsu, is pretty parallel to life, right? Because like I said, one day you're like on top of the world, you're beating everybody, and then the next day you go in and you're just getting beaten down, and then it's just like, do I even deserve to be here? Should I be here? Like, what is going on, right? And then the next day, like, oh, okay, I'm getting that, and so it is very much a sport where you have to learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable positions.
Mhm.
Somebody comes in their first class and you put them in a chokehold, and they're let go, let go, let go, and they're panicking, right? And then you then you see somebody that's been training for a long time, like a black belt, somebody's got their arm around them, and we're just having a conversation laughing with somebody else on the mat while somebody's trying to choke you because oh yeah, they don't have it. Like they don't know proper technique. They can only squeeze it. And so same thing with getting ready for a business. Like, yeah, it was scary, and I was supposed to open with someone else and ended up having to choose to open by myself because we were having disagreements before ever opening.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was I at the time also had a really good boss, Master Arsamont, which is where Ryan Delsing was from. I was teaching jiu-jitsu in the Taekwondo school that I started in.
Mm-hmm.
And Master Arsamont was also very influential in my life. And he said, you open with somebody if they bring something to the table you're not bringing. And essentially it just made me like look at my worth and go, oh, okay, I can do all these things. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
in my training, because of my training in martial arts, people understanding the commitment to martial arts, there's a lot of opportunities that people would say I've been lucky and given and all these things because I've been handed positions like asked to teach. Well, obviously you get asked to teach if you can teach. And then I was, teaching for a while, and then I was offered a job to work there at Master Arsenal. So I took that opportunity because what's the worst case scenario? Might not do well for a little bit, and then I'll learn what I need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started working there, and that kind of taught me how to do front desk stuff, how to do signups, how to start playing these different hats to then
Mm-hmm.
go, okay, by the time I want to open by myself, it's scary, but I've done a lot of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so with training and knowing that, like, I mean, in jiu-jitsu, like I said, you tap right the white flag, and I think that's what's hard for people is being able to go like, white flag, help me, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like, show me what's next. And so definitely being in jiu-jitsu has helped me with learning that, being like it's okay to white flag and ask for some help
Mm-hmm.
and go to the next thing. So I think as scary as it was, I built a big team around me and a lot of people that I wasn't afraid to white flag to and be like, I don't know what to do, please help.
Yeah.
So
That is, I mean, for our viewers out there, just the lesson I see is don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, because we can't do it ourselves. It's always a team, a community, a group of people that, because the old self-made millionaire, that's a misnomer. There's nobody self-made. You did it by having a team, having a community, asking for help because nobody knows it all. So if you're not afraid to ask, then you'll learn. But if you're prideful and say, I can figure this out, and you won't ask, the business will whoop you upside down real quick. Because what was it like when you signed on the dotted line, when you committed your resources? Because when you sign a lease, you're basically putting that commitment down. And if you don't honor that lease, they don't say, hey, thanks so much, we appreciate you. They don't let you just walk away. So what was that like when you finally signed that lease and committed to how many years that you've committed to the business?
so when I started, I had saved a decent amount of money. uh, my dad taught me very young how to save money, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a lesson for another day, and it had nothing to do with money. But I saved a good bit of money, and I was working at ATA teaching jujitsu for way too little of money, so I wasn't making a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching as I go, like save this money, this can cost this much, but talking costs and all that. And when I signed, I just knew, I already know that I work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing with jujitsu is like you can't come in and not work. That you might have some natural talent, and once somebody beats you down, that natural talent's useless because your mind immediately goes bad, right? You're like, oh my god, I'm terrible, all this, and then you crumble. And so it's like, learning that I know I'm gonna work hard to be where I'm at in jiu-jitsu, and I'm gonna work hard when I sign this lease. And yeah, it's scary because it's like, what if I don't make this, right? And I could have sat there and focused on what if I don't get this money, and what if I don't do this thing, and what if I don't. but it's like at this point I'm going to trust all these opportunities I've had in my life and all the things that I've learned. And at the end of the day, worst case scenario, I'm going to have to try to, come up with a loan, which when I opened my business, I did it with no loans. So
Mm-hmm.
my business doesn't owe money to anyone.
Hmm.
Um, my business owed a little bit of money to me because I put money into the business, right? And I also opened in 2019, July of 2019. So right
Yeah.
around COVID, yeah. If y'all remember the time frame, it's hard for me to remember all that time frame, but I opened in
2020,
July.
March of 2020 is when things just shut down.
So
Oh,
August,
go ahead.
October, November, December, January, February, March. So 8 months into business, I had to shut down.
Yeah.
And started with signing people up for my gym before I opened the location. Like, "Oh, we're gonna open. If you want to go ahead and register now," you know. And I had people that were training jujitsu and taekwondo, so we had a kind of a deal that they would finish out their contract there, and once they finished their contract out there, then I would get their billing. So it's like I also didn't get the billing right away for some of my students. But I just knew that if I had to take students from where I'm at to open what I'm doing, then I won't last anyways. I needed to figure out how to get new clientele. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just instead of thinking like, oh, how am I going to make this money? And it's going to be hard. It was just like, okay, we know we have to make money. How do we do that thing? Who do I want here? And just pushing forward, like trying all the different things. Like you said, you have to have all the hats. And I am not good with words, so that hat is not for me. And so I had to try to do that for a bit. And that was one of the first things I learned. Like, I need to have somebody else do this. But it, yeah, the training that I had, the circumstances I was in, the fact that I've always known that I'm going to work hard. And I do think that comes from just inherently how I was born, but also my upbringing. It was very important to my parents to do these things, and they put the values on us in the right places.
Yes. Yeah, it's always I went to high school with two guys. They were on the diving. They dove in college. And so when everybody else was doing, they would get up early, go to the pool, dive, work on their craft year after year after year. Both of them became very successful because I think that discipline of doing things when you can't see the end result, but you go through the training of that really helped them later in life because I'm 66, so they are about the same age. They had a successful, very successful career. And if you trace things back, you can usually find the reason why somebody worked hard. They have a strong work ethic. They were disciplined, and that transfers into success in the business. What would you tell girls today? Because it's different than it was 25 years ago. Social media and so much is, you know, giving people the impression of stuff. What would you, in speaking to girls 10 years old, let's say, what advice would you give to them on tackling a kind of a new era?
So I would honestly say, like, uh, be yourself and be genuine to what that thing is that you want. And I think that that's that piece that I was kind of like born with, right? Because I hear people all the time ask me like or tell me like, I want my daughter to be like you. I want her to learn these things. And I'm like, I don't know how to teach these things. I am this way.
Yeah.
And not to say that like, and I don't mean that in the sense of like y'all can't have it, y'all can't get it. You can, and all you got to do is kind of emulate it for a while. And I think that it starts becoming a part of you. I think the world tears people down and makes them think that they can't. And my mind was just like, oh, yes, you can.
Hmm.
And so I would say, like, really just be true in what you want to do. And the thing is, this might also come from the fact that by the time I started trying to open a business, women were already in the workforce, right? So I can't speak for, the past generation
Yeah.
women because they really had the cojones, right, to do it. But I've never felt like a woman in business struggling because I'm a woman or whatever, right? Because this is just that path that I was like, yeah, this feels very true for me, true to me, how I
Mm,
want to do it, right? And I did choose also going into a male dominated industry.
mhm.
Whereas, if you were to do, you want to do makeup or you want to do, dresses, the typical female stuff,
Right.
if that's what you want to do, then you just have to go that this is genuinely me. And I have friends that have started their own businesses, and one of them actually runs Good Girl Co., which is like bathing suits and
Mhm,
very very girly. And but this was how she always was her whole life.
mhm.
And so I would definitely say that my advice would just be whatever it is, that thing that you want to do and that resonates with you because that's what you want to do, not your parents, not your friends, not social
Yes.
media. And you genuinely feel like, and not because you're trying to be some kind of way, that's what you should focus on. the
Yeah.
the more what you want to do suits with you, the more opportunities you're going to see, the more people you're going to meet, and then you'll be able to take those things on and go, ah, okay. Because to me, it just never, it doesn't, I don't feel lucky, right? I mean, I think we all are lucky, but I see those things and I'm like, ah, I'm going to take that. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then I do with that thing what I feel is right for me. So being genuine and true to myself, I think, has been that superpower that's helped me be where I'm at today.
Totally. I love that. And, I just from my eyes, I'll tell our viewers when I met you for the first time was in your gym and you were hosting the Kennesaw Business Association Wake Up. And what I took away from that was your confidence that you basically, and you only look at it, I mean, people look at it from different eyes. So you obviously are only looking at it from your eyes, which is understandable. But when people can notice a confidence in a person, they're drawn to that person because you know who you are, you're confident in what you're doing, and that comes through in the body language, it comes through in the words you say, and people go, wow, that's a role model. I can see why people would say, hey, I want my girl to grow up like you. And I think it's only natural when you see somebody that's living that life that stands out. Because if you're not true to yourself, if you're not speaking the truth, if you're not out there doing what you're gifted to do and trying to pretend that you're something else, it never works out. You can always tell. So I want to tell our viewers how can they get a hold of you? Because we got to get you to the gym because you got students to take care of. So tell our viewers how can they get a hold of you?
So y'all can come to our location, which is off Bells Ferry Road, at the Publix with the Harbor Freight off exit 4. If not, you can always visit our website, riseuppjj.com. And you can also text or call our work number, which is down here, 678-685-1737. And it will either be myself or Angel answering y'all. Um, but those are the easiest ways. And like I said, you can always just walk in. We're there most of the day. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from people. And just real quick, since we are doing Women in Business this Friday,
Hmm.
I do have a women's self defense workshop series. It'll be at 7:30 at the studio. So if anybody is interested in that, it's also on the website. If you hit the little events tab, and you'll be
Hmm.
able to see that on there. If you have any questions, you can text us about it. But so that's our it's 16 and up, um, strictly women workshop, and it's not just for my gym. It's just general self defense and
Right.
get you where you need to be so you can learn that self defense for yourself.
That is awesome. Okay, take note of that, viewers. And also, I know we were talking when we were at desktop. You have something coming up in May since it's Mother's Day. Aren't you doing something special for our moms out there?
Yes, so May, mothers can train free, unlimited. So as many classes as you want, absolutely free. And we do have obviously other women in there, but the whole thing that's different about our gym, if you've ever been to a dojo, is that we do partner somebody with you that's a higher rank so that they can help you and make sure that you're comfortable in the setting and make sure that you're, if you need to adapt certain things, that they can help you adapt those things so that when you come in, you feel comfortable, because I know it's hard, especially we had some new moms come in, like very, very new moms, and they're like, well, I can't do this or that yet because and it's like, of course, we will tailor and help you out in the way that we can to make sure that you're getting the training that you need. So yeah, all of May we have noon classes and evening classes. So it's good fun.
That is cool. So we're going to go to thank you because our viewers, I want to let them not beware, but aware that we're doing adult children and seniors coming together to laugh, have a good time. So the moms that are younger, you want to get involved in the class for the month of May, then come out to our comedy night, which is the 22nd of May. And if anybody messes with you, you can put them down on the mat. Or no, we don't have a mat, but we have rugs. So
Oh, and I
don't.
hear this comedian is hilarious.
Oh,
So
he is. I've had probably been to 25 of his events. He will make you laugh. You will hurt. You're going to laugh so hard. And it's surrounded. We have a senior, Larry Hauser, who you might recognize that last name. His brother uh, actually was Kansas City and the Yankees a coach. So he's a senior in my age group. So he's going to lead off. And then Melissa, who a lot of people know through the academy there on Cobb Parkway there. It's International Academy, I think the name. It's a charter school. And let me see, Monique and Christina know her very well. So she's going to have the middle ticket, and then Ken's going to come up at the end. So we basically have two comedians coming on before a break. Then they can eat some hors d'oeuvres, come and hang out with our vendors, because the challenging thing about getting older is our life changes quickly, and the adult kids don't know all the needs that are out there. So we have a resource book that we're coming out with to give you a safe place to go find people that can help your mom and dad. So
oh, that's
that
awesome.
that book will be coming out at that event. So we're gonna eat, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna have some fun, and we might even have some trained moms who will take you on. So we'll
And I
see.
don't know if you have the place for your event, because we can only see my stuff, just to make sure they can see where your event's happening.
Oh, okay. Let me do that. Thank
Bottom.
you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. No, you
we
didn't. Okay.
actually very good. Thank you for reminding me of that. So right here, it's going to be at Grace Church, which is a town center. It's at 6 o'clock to 7:30. If you take a picture of that QR code in the middle there, that's Ken at Air Bar, which is up a YouTube channel, and he was in Salt Lake City. 45 minutes of the funniest comedy that you'll ever listen to. It's clean stuff, so your kids can watch it too. But just go to podcasterpetecane.com if you want to register. And I think there's they're in. Okay. I don't have all my act together here. Oh yeah, no, I do right here. So there, see that, Podcaster Pete Kane, you can register. Tickets are $15. And if you buy groups of 10, they're $10 a piece. So if you're a senior living facility, you want to buy 10 tickets and provide them for your residents, they'll be available for less. We're going to pack the place and we're going to have some fun. So come on out and enjoy us. And I want you to also get a hold of Joanie at her
There you go.
gym.
Yep.
And let me see here. I'm going to go back to it here just a
When I
second.
pulled it up, I'm gonna watch this comedian now.
Oh, good.
I'm
Oh my God.
excited.
He is so good. I would love to hear. Let me okay, here we go. There we go. Okay. So as we close, thank you so much for being on our Women in Business. We love seeing our women crush it in business. And you can come back, because we're going to do our best to get her back and give you a little bit more of her journey, and encourage our women that it's not as scary as you might think getting in business. Because once you get over the first couple of years, you're okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. What's the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
To be yourself, definitely. From today's, that's and help other people be themselves and focus on themselves and not others, especially in this social media age. So
Oh, that's
a
good.
comparison is not even worth it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be in with us this morning. All right, Joan.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was our pleasure for sure. Take care. Have a good day at the gym.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Studio, I think. What do you
Yeah.
call it?
We call it an academy.
Academy. Have fun
Yep.
at the academy today. Okay.